The drama begins with Nora going through a difficult moment during the birth of her baby. The pain is intense, and as she endures it, she remembers how her story began. When she was a student, she secretly dated Yuda, the most popular boy in school, admired by everyone, but he only had eyes for her. After a date, Yuda walked her home, determined to fully win her heart. He gave her a delicate necklace and confessed that his feelings for her were deep. Although Nora hesitated at first, they ended up sharing a special evening together, growing very close. However, she felt uneasy afterward, afraid of what might happen. At school, Nora meets Keenan, a new classmate with a rebellious vibe, and surprisingly, he's the same guy she crossed paths with at the airport. Boldly, Keenan asks if she has a secret boyfriend, leaving her a bit stunned. Later, he notices that her skirt is torn and lends her his jacket, on the condition that she returns it, giving him a reason to see her again. Yuda tries to get close to Nora, but remembering what happened between them, she avoids him and heads to class. During the lesson, she starts feeling unwell and asks for permission to leave. A jealous classmate purposely trips her, but Keenan helps her and takes her to the infirmary. Yuda can't hide his discomfort about the new student's presence, while Keenan challenges him with his bold attitude. Both start competing for Nora's attention. While trying to help, Nora blurts out to Yuda that his breath is awful, leaving him embarrassed as Keenan laughs at him. Soon after, Nora feels so sick that she decides to buy a pregnancy test. To her surprise, she runs into Keenan at the store, who bluntly asks if she's pregnant. Nervously, Nora lies and says the test is for her mother. She eventually takes the test and confirms she's pregnant. She decides to talk to Yuda in a quiet place and confesses that she hasn't had her period in several months. Yuda, in disbelief, asks to see the test, but she left it in the taxi. Celine, Nora's rival, finds the test in the car and, with help from the nosy driver, learns it belongs to Nora, causing even more complications. During the conversation, Nora tells Yuda that she doesn't feel ready to be a mother, as they're both still in school and not married. At that moment, Celine shows up and accuses her of being pregnant. Quick-witted, Nora manages to brush her off with a joke. But inside, she's distressed. She runs off to cry, afraid that news of her pregnancy will spread at school and get her expelled. Desperate, she tries to contact Yuda, but he doesn't answer. The next day at school, Yuda completely ignores her, leaving her confused and wondering what happened to the love he once promised her. Meanwhile, Keenan discovers that some bullies have scratched insults onto his desk. Enraged, he confronts them and teaches them a lesson until a teacher intervenes and calls his mother to pick him up. Frustrated by the situation at home, Keenan leaves in anger. Nora, seeing him so upset, approaches to comfort him, cleans a wound he has, and assures him that things will get better. Slowly, Keenan begins to feel more at ease, while Yuda watches from a distance, consumed by jealousy. Rumors about a pregnant girl start spreading at school, and a teacher asks Nora to investigate and find out who it is. Although she accepts the task, she does it to protect her own secret. However, Yuda, terrified of what might happen, confronts her and suggests that she end the pregnancy. Nora refuses, but he insists, arguing that if they don't, both will be expelled and won't be able to finish school. Desperate and crying, Nora listens as Yuda, though trying to comfort her, suggests she take pills to terminate the pregnancy. Nora's mother overhears the conversation and is left in shock. She breaks down in tears as Nora, also crying, begs her for forgiveness. Upon hearing the news, her father, furious, decides to confront Yuda. He arrives at his house determined to settle the matter, but Yuda, scared, hides. Nora's father manages to get in and chases him all over the house with a broom, blaming him for what happened to his daughter. Yuda, terrified, tries to justify himself by saying that what they did was out of love, only making the father even angrier. The chase ends in the pool, where both fall in and fight, though Yuda eventually manages to escape. In an attempt to resolve the situation, the families arrange a meeting to talk, but on the day of the gathering, they discover that Yuda's family has moved to Japan, leaving Nora and her family without answers. Nora feels devastated at the thought of becoming a single mother. At school, her attitude completely changes, something Keenan quickly notices, though he feels a bit relieved when she tells him she ended her relationship with Yuda. Still, Nora remains heartbroken, as she had hoped to face the situation together with Yuda, who has now abandoned her. In a moment of despair, she throws away the necklace Yuda gave her and considers ending her pain. Fortunately, Keenan arrives just in time, stops her, and comforts her, reminding her that Yuda doesn't deserve her love. With a hug, Keenan offers his unconditional support. Worried about the scandal that could break out, Nora and her parents come up with a plan to protect her reputation. At school, Nora announces that they are moving to another city, claiming her mother is expecting a baby. Celine, always suspicious, tries to force her to take a pregnancy test. Nora agrees, but cleverly uses apple juice to fake the result and get a negative. Celine, confused, ends up looking like a liar in front of everyone. Before Nora leaves, Keenan gives her a new necklace. She encourages him to believe in love again, despite the disappointments he's faced because of his parents. They say goodbye with heavy hearts, and Keenan, heartbroken, promises to wait for her. Months go by, and while Nora continues with her pregnancy, Keenan can't stop thinking about her. During a school trip, Celine runs into Nora and drags her into a basketball game, where Keenan sees her and can't hide his joy. However, that happiness quickly fades when they both realize that Yuda is there too. He never moved to Japan. Filled with rage, Keenan confronts Yuda for abandoning Nora during her darkest moment. The two face off in a tense basketball game while Nora, watching from the stands, feels trapped between sadness and frustration. After the game, Nora confronts Yuda, accusing him of being a liar. Yuda tries to explain, saying his mother was sick and he couldn't talk to her about the pregnancy. Without hesitation, Nora calls him a coward and ends things with him for good. In the end, Keenan stays by Nora's side and invites her to a beach party so she can relax and have a good time. During the party, some of her friends notice that her stomach seems firmer than usual and try to help her by removing some of her clothes to make her more comfortable. Nervous, Nora quickly makes an excuse, saying she needs to go to the bathroom. On her way, she runs into Yuda, who is still burning with jealousy over her closeness with Keenan. In a burst of anger, Yuda is about to reveal her pregnancy, but stops himself, remembering that doing so could get them both expelled and humiliated. Later, Nora and Keenan share a pleasant conversation, and little by little, he becomes someone very special to her. However, during the party, Nora drinks too much alcohol, putting her baby's health at risk. Fortunately, when she visits the doctor, he assures her that the baby is fine and that the moment of birth is approaching. Nora begins to prepare for that day, and Keenan, unaware that she's pregnant, continues to care for her with tenderness and devotion. Meanwhile, Yuda is consumed by rage at the thought of Keenan becoming the father of his daughter. Determined to stop that from happening, he reminds Nora of the love they once shared and expresses his regret for the mistakes he made. He assures her that he's ready to change and promises to marry her after talking to his parents about the pregnancy. He declares his love, and Nora, moved by his words, forgives him and hugs him just as Keenan was about to confess his own feelings for her. Heartbroken, Keenan quietly walks away, while Celine seizes the opportunity to approach him, comforting him with hopes of winning his affection. Back at school, Keenan confronts Nora, telling her he no longer trusts her and that their friendship is over. Sometime later, a meeting is scheduled with Yuda's family to discuss the future, but he doesn't show up. Instead, he leaves a note saying he's going on a trip, abandoning her for the second time. Desperate, Nora panics, trying to calm herself as she speaks to her baby, assuring them that everything will be okay. However, she begins to realize how difficult it will be to move forward as a single mother, facing an uncertain future. Keenan realizes how much Nora needs him and how foolish he was to walk away, so he decides to leave Celine and rushes to Nora's side to save her once again. True to his romantic nature, he confesses that he can't live without her, but Nora feels like her life has lost all meaning. Keenan declares his deep love for her, but instead of responding, she asks him to stay away. The last thing she wants is for him to find out about the pregnancy and end up bearing the burden of a child that isn't his. Later, Celine finds Keenan and confesses that she truly loves him, but he rejects her, making it clear that his love for Nora is all that matters. Furious, Celine gets into a fight with another girl. Meanwhile, Keenan continues sending gifts to Nora, but she rejects them, not wanting to give him false hope. She tells him she's decided to marry Yuda and will move to another city to distance herself from him. Determined not to lose her, Keenan manages to get Nora's new address and arrives at her house just as she's about to give birth. However, Nora won't let him in, afraid he'll discover her pregnancy. Distressed, she asks him to leave, and it's her friend who steps in to help her. Her parents take her to the hospital, but their car breaks down on the way. As always, Keenan shows up at the right moment and helps them, though Nora, overwhelmed by pain and anxiety, hides from him. At the hospital, the doctors prepare Nora for delivery, and after several attempts, she finally gives birth to a baby girl. Nora cries with joy and tries to share the news with Yuda, but he's heartbroken over the recent death of his mother and pays her no attention. While Yuda mourns at the cemetery, Nora's baby develops complications and urgently needs surgery because she's having trouble breathing. The procedure is extremely expensive, and Nora panics, knowing she doesn't have the means to pay for it. In an unexpected turn, Keenan steps in and covers all the costs of the surgery, believing the baby belongs to Nora's mother, not to her. He does it simply to make Nora happy. Filled with gratitude and emotion, she watches him with tears of joy in her eyes. Later, Keenan sends her a letter saying they're meant to be together, and Nora holds onto those words in her heart, realizing she may never forget how much he's cared for her. She begins to wonder if this is what truly loving someone feels like. The surgery is a success, but soon another problem arises. The baby needs breast milk, and Nora, gripped by fear, realizes she's not producing enough. Her mother steps in to help, using a band to stimulate the milk, just as Nora's father walks into the room. Horrified by the scene, he panics and rushes out, leaving everyone in the room stunned by the awkward moment. They manage to extract the milk for the baby, and at that moment, Yuda, gazing at his daughter through tears, confesses to Nora that his mother died from the shock of learning about her pregnancy. He also reveals that his father hit him so hard it left his face red. After leaving the hospital, Nora returns home with her baby, and Keenan, still believing the child belongs to Nora's mother, congratulates her on the birth. Nora begs Keenan to keep the secret, and he agrees without hesitation. As Nora and Keenan spend more time together, their bond deepens. During a walk, Nora hugs him so affectionately that Keenan is taken aback. He admits how much he missed being close to her and once again expresses his unconditional love. Nora, embarrassed, tells him they can't have a future together without revealing that her real concern is the baby. She asks him to stay away, but Keenan refuses to leave her. He gently touches her, making her heart race, unable to hide her feelings for him. At that very moment, Yuda catches them, and fearing Keenan will take her away, decides they must get married as soon as possible. However, Yuda's father disapproves of this decision and urges him to leave Nora and focus on his basketball career. Yuda, determined, responds that he has a responsibility toward his daughter. Suddenly, they are involved in a car accident with a truck. His father is knocked unconscious, and though Yuda tries to pull him out of the vehicle, it begins to catch fire. A man manages to rescue Yuda just before the car explodes, leaving him emotionally shaken. Soon after, Keenan discovers the bitter truth. The baby is Nora's. Desperate, he rushes to her house, where she finally confesses that she kept it a secret to protect him from the pain and because she dreams of studying medicine. She explains her fear that the university might reject her if they find out about her situation. She also reveals that Yuda is the baby's father. Stunned and hurt, Keenan calls her a traitor and walks away, heartbroken. Both are left devastated, each trapped in their own sorrow, longing to be together but overwhelmed by the pain. Over time, Keenan reflects and sends a message to Nora, asking her to meet him. He promises to keep her secret but begs her to give love a chance. However, Nora, firm in her decision, turns him down. Despite her refusal, Keenan keeps his word, because his love for her remains strong. Meanwhile, Yuda, still recovering from the accident, watches Nora and their daughter from a distance, hiding so he won't be seen. Nora returns to school determined to finish her studies. Her friends welcome her warmly, but Keenan completely ignores her, treating her like a shadow that once hurt him. Though they cross paths in the hallways, he avoids speaking to her. One day, while studying together, Nora glances at one of Keenan's assignments and realizes that he still loves her. This discovery fills her with a quiet joy, but the path between them remains uncertain. Suddenly, Nora receives an urgent call from her mother, who tells her she's sick. Worried, Nora rushes to see her, but on the way, she accidentally bumps into Celine's mother, causing her to fall and end up in the hospital. Nora is consumed with guilt, while Celine accuses her of trying to kill her mother. In a fit of rage, Celine strikes her, knocking her down. Nora manages to escape, but in her haste, she drops a cloth used by nursing mothers to keep milk from staining clothes. Celine picks it up, and the suspicion she had once dismissed now returns stronger than ever. Nora's baby, meanwhile, falls ill with a fever and won't stop crying. Desperate, she takes her to the doctor, but the crying continues. Miraculously, when Keenan holds the baby, she calms down instantly, making Nora realize what a wonderful father Keenan would be, even if he's not the biological one. Meanwhile, Celine is at the hospital because her mother has fallen into a coma after the accident on the stairs. From a distance, she sees Nora with the baby and mistakenly assumes that Keenan is the father. Back at school, Nora and Keenan continue pretending to hate each other, but when their eyes meet, it's impossible to hide how they really feel. They keep sneaking up to the rooftop like secret lovers, and there, Keenan confesses that he can't stop thinking about her, that she's on his mind constantly. Nora finally gives in to her emotions and admits that she loves him too. Keenan shares his desire to be a father to her daughter and to give her a good life and education. Touched, Nora hugs him, and in a tender gesture, he kisses her forehead, creating a magical and intimate moment between them. From that point on, they become secret lovers, but Celine finds out, and with tears in her eyes, swears revenge. Despite the tension, Nora and Keenan begin to build a life together as parents, shopping for baby clothes and discovering that they both share the same dream: studying medicine. Keenan takes a bold step and asks Nora's parents for permission to stay by her side until they finish school, promising to marry her once they graduate. However, Nora's parents aren't entirely convinced. They worry that, since Keenan isn't the biological father, he's taking on a responsibility that isn't his, and they question whether he would truly be the best father for the baby. Nora assures her parents that she will find a way to convince them, and Keenan remains happy just to have her by his side. However, soon after, Nora receives a mysterious message from someone claiming to miss her and wanting to see her. Confused, she goes to the bathroom, where she uses a strange device to extract breast milk. Moments later, she receives another message, this time demanding that she meet in the park with her baby. When she arrives, she discovers that Celine is behind it all. Celine reveals that she has been secretly recording the conversations between Nora and Keenan about the baby, and threatens to expose everything unless Nora breaks up with him. Heartbroken, Nora gives in to Celine's demands and ends things with Keenan. At first, he thinks it's a joke, but Nora, serious and firm, tells him their relationship is over. After school ends, Keenan finds her on the street and tells her she's the light of his life. Despite everything, they continue pretending to hate each other at school to keep Celine fooled. However, Celine eventually catches them together, takes a compromising photo, and gives them 1 week to break up for real, or she'll expose the truth about the baby to everyone. Determined to end the blackmail, Nora and Yuda, with the help of a friend, manage to steal the recordings from Celine. As a reward, Nora shows Yuda a photo of their baby, which makes him sincerely regret abandoning her. Meanwhile, Keenan's mother finds out about his relationship with Nora and tells him he's too young to be in a serious relationship, insisting that he focus on the family business. But Keenan stands his ground, saying he wants to become a doctor and help single mothers like Nora. Amid all the tension, Yuda begins to earn the trust of Nora's mother, showing genuine remorse for his past mistakes. One day, Nora finds a hairband on the ground, the same one Yuda wore the first time they were together, and realizes he has been quietly watching over her and their daughter from the shadows. Later, Keenan's mother decides to visit the school to meet with Nora, but overwhelmed by stress, Nora hides. The pressure of caring for her baby is draining her, and Keenan, always by her side, comforts her. Holding her hand, he promises to fight with her and for her. He embraces her, letting her feel the depth of his love and unwavering support. However, filled with jealousy after seeing them together, Celine decides to take revenge and uploads evidence online revealing that Nora is a single mother. When Nora sees the photo, she panics. Terrified of the consequences, she runs away, not knowing what to do. Soon, the photo spreads like wildfire, and everyone at school begins mocking her, calling her irresponsible and reckless. The scandal escalates quickly, and the pressure mounts so intensely that the school decides she must leave. Amid the humiliation, Celine seizes the moment to trip her and expose the breast pump Nora had hidden, deepening her embarrassment. Unable to endure the situation, Nora runs, but the school guard closes the gate before Keenan can reach her. Keenan tries to climb the wall to follow her, but a teacher stops him and punishes him in the office. Desperate, Keenan pleads to be let go so he can find Nora. At last, Keenan manages to find her, crying uncontrollably. He wraps her in his arms, giving her comfort and reassurance. They walk together, trying to process everything that's happened, but soon they receive the devastating news. Nora has been expelled from school, crushing her dream of becoming a doctor. Falling into deep depression, Nora isolates herself, while Keenan, burning with anger, confronts Celine and calls her the cruelest girl in the world. Celine, with tears in her eyes, admits she did it because she's hurt that he doesn't love her. Keenan makes it clear that even if she were the last person on Earth, he would never be with her. Later, Yuda manages to meet with Nora, but she treats him coldly. Yuda tries to explain himself, admitting that he was scared of taking responsibility for a child at such a young age. Nora calls him a coward, reminding him that she's just as young but would never abandon her baby. This leads to another heated argument between Nora's father and Yuda, with Nora's mother stepping in to prevent the situation from getting out of control. In an attempt to reconcile, Yuda pulls out a ring he had kept, ready to propose to Nora. Meanwhile, unaware of Yuda's intentions, Nora is playing with her baby while talking on the phone with Keenan, who continues to support her from a distance. Still, Nora fears that if Yuda comes back into her life, she might lose Keenan, someone who has been her rock through her hardest moments. While out shopping, Nora runs into two girls who used to admire her, but after hearing about the scandal, they insult her and say they've lost all respect for her. Heartbroken, Nora walks away feeling sadder and more alone than ever. Suddenly, two people abduct her right on the street and take her to a forest, without anyone noticing except for Yuda, who secretly follows them. The kidnappers place a bag over her head and abandon her in the woods. Thankfully, Yuda finds her just in time and brings her back home. Weakened by pain and fear, Nora is unable to walk, so Yuda carries her on his back, taking her to safety as she slowly begins to calm down. Keenan feels immense relief when he hears that Nora is safe after the kidnapping. Reflecting on the details, Nora realizes that her abductors were girls, as she noticed their long hair. Later, after a police investigation, it is revealed that Celine was the mastermind behind the abduction. The police arrest her, and she is sent to prison. Though she keeps up a defiant attitude behind bars, other inmates soon put her in her place, leaving her unconscious and hospitalized. Later on, Keenan's mother confronts Nora, asking her to stay away from her son, claiming she'll ruin his future. Heartbroken, Nora realizes that Keenan's family will never accept their marriage, and despite how deeply she loves him, she decides to end their relationship. Devastated, she leaves in tears, and that's when Yuda shows up. He proposes to her, explaining that he now has the financial means, thanks to the inheritance from his late parents, and that he can provide everything their daughter needs. Yuda gives her his mother's ring and tells her that if she accepts it, she will be his forever. Just then, Keenan arrives, furious, and attacks Yuda. The fight escalates quickly, but they're pulled apart before things get worse. Keenan, determined, declares that Nora is still his girlfriend, but she corrects him with sorrow in her voice, saying they're no longer together. Hurt and confused, Keenan asks what made her change her mind, reminding her of the promises they made to fight for their love. Through tears, Nora explains that she ended things because his mother forced her to. Feeling betrayed, Keenan decides to walk away. He packs his things and goes to live with his father, unable to cope with the heartbreak. Later, he proposes to Nora himself, but she, overwhelmed, asks for a day to think about her decision. That night, Nora sits in her room, staring at the 2 rings she's been offered. Her mother, in a heartfelt moment of advice, talks to her about the importance of a father's role in a child's life and how Yuda has shown true remorse for his mistakes. Thinking about her daughter's well-being, Nora makes a difficult decision. Even though her heart belongs to Keenan, she chooses to prioritize her child's stability. In the end, she meets with Yuda and tells him she accepts his marriage proposal, sacrificing her own happiness for her daughter's future. Nora then faces the painful task of telling Keenan about her decision. With tears in her eyes, she returns the ring that meant so much to him and explains that she has decided to marry Yuda, because her daughter needs her biological father. Though it breaks her heart, Nora thanks Keenan for entering her life and showing her the meaning of true love, even when she once doubted it. Keenan, desperate, embraces her tightly, begging her not to leave him. But Nora, heartbroken, stands firm in her decision. Keenan collapses, unable to accept the life slipping through his fingers. Soon after, Nora informs her family that she has chosen to marry Yuda. For the first time, she allows Yuda to hold their daughter in his arms, something he does tenderly. Yet deep inside, Nora can't stop thinking about Keenan, the man who still holds her heart. At that very moment, Keenan, emotionally shattered, is struck by a car. Severely injured, his last effort before losing consciousness is to reach out for the ring he had once given to Nora, the woman who remains the true love of his life. Keenan is rushed to the hospital in critical condition, fighting for his life. His father, deeply worried, begs Nora to visit him, convinced that her presence could help in his recovery. Nora, overwhelmed with anguish, wants to go see him, but Yuda, afraid of losing her, lies and tells her that Keenan has already recovered. With her heart torn, Nora begins planning her wedding with Yuda. She picks out her wedding dress, and when Yuda sees her dressed in white, he's left speechless, moved by the moment and full of hope for their future. Together, they appear joyful and excited as the wedding day approaches. Meanwhile, Keenan wakes up from his coma, but something is different. He's lost his memory. He remembers nothing about Nora or their love story. Taking advantage of the situation, Celine, manipulative as ever, deceives him, convincing him that they have always been together and deeply in love. When Nora learns of the lie, she rushes to the hospital and confronts Celine in a fit of rage and frustration, exposing the truth. As their argument unfolds, Keenan begins to experience flashes of memory. But every time he tries to focus, a sharp pain overwhelms him, leaving him more confused and disoriented. In the end, he's unable to recognize Nora at all. Heartbroken by the condition Keenan is left in after the accident, Nora makes the painful decision not to tell him anything about their past together, hoping to spare him more pain. She chooses to walk away, determined that he should never know about the love they once shared. After making this devastating choice, Nora confronts Yuda about lying to her regarding Keenan's condition. Filled with fear at the thought of losing her, Yuda tries to justify himself, saying he did it out of love because he was afraid she would return to Keenan. Desperate, Yuda asks what he can do to regain her trust. Despite her doubts, Nora agrees to go on a date at a restaurant to talk about their relationship and see if rebuilding trust is even possible, even though her heart still beats for Keenan. On the day of the date, Nora unexpectedly runs into Keenan, who returns some belongings she had lost during one of their past encounters. To keep him from remembering anything, Nora pretends her name is Nala. However, when someone nearby casually mentions her real name, Keenan is struck by a sudden, intense headache that leaves him disoriented. Concerned, Nora stays by his side to care for him, which causes her to arrive late for her dinner with Yuda. Though the restaurant is about to close, Yuda, visibly sad, has waited patiently for her. With doubt in his eyes, he asks if she truly wants to go through with the wedding. Feeling trapped, Nora reassures him, and in that moment, she makes the difficult choice to hide her recent encounters with Keenan. Finally, the wedding day arrives. Nora puts on her white dress, her makeup is flawless, but her best friend is convinced that marrying Yuda is a mistake. Worried, she decides to go find Keenan and tell him that Nora is about to get married. However, when she arrives, Keenan is fast asleep, and Celine, upon hearing the friend's plan, steps in and makes sure to keep the truth hidden so that Keenan won't interfere with the ceremony. Meanwhile, Yuda becomes increasingly unsure and overwhelmed by doubts about Nora's true feelings. Unable to handle the pressure, he runs off just before the wedding is set to begin. Nora, desperate to find him, rushes out of the venue to search for him. In her frantic attempt to locate Yuda, Nora steps into the hotel elevator only to come face to face with Keenan. He looks at her, stunned, confused by the sight of her in a wedding dress. Bewildered, he asks why she's at the hotel dressed as a bride. Nora, still harboring feelings for him but trying to protect herself, gives a vague answer and turns the question back on him, asking what he's doing there. Unaware of Celine's true motives, Keenan tells her he's there for a dinner with Celine. Hurt by this, Nora warns him not to trust Celine before hurrying away again, continuing her search for Yuda. Nora finally finds Yuda, his face etched with worry. He confesses that he doesn't think it's wise to get married while they're both keeping secrets. Nora, trying to justify herself and soothe her own guilt, replies that sometimes secrets are necessary to protect a relationship, subtly referring to her recent encounters with Keenan. What Nora doesn't know is that Yuda is hiding a far darker secret. It was he who, distracted by his phone, hit Keenan with his car, causing the accident that nearly took his life. Despite Yuda's growing doubts, Nora insists on going through with the wedding, reaffirming that he is her choice even though her heart still holds feelings for Keenan. Later, in a desperate attempt to maintain control, Celine shows Keenan photos of Nora marrying Yuda. Seeing the woman he loves with another man is too much for Keenan. Overwhelmed by pain and heartbreak, he collapses, fainting from the emotional shock. After the wedding, during their honeymoon, Nora continues to feel uncomfortable around Yuda. Despite his gentle attempts to grow closer, she keeps her distance, tormented by unresolved feelings for Keenan. While visiting a shopping center, Nora unexpectedly runs into Keenan again. Feeling as though fate keeps bringing them together, he asks her about their relationship before the accident. Panicked at the thought that he might remember everything, Nora freezes, then turns and runs, unable to face the truth. Fate seems to be playing tricks on them, as they cross paths once again, this time at the university. Nora, trying to surprise Yuda by bringing him lunch, makes a phone call that Keenan happens to overhear. When he hears Yuda call her Nora, it triggers another intense headache. Disturbed and panicked, Nora quickly leaves, terrified of what Keenan might be starting to remember. Shortly after, Keenan finds a photo of Nora tucked inside his notebook. Determined to get answers, he confronts her. But Nora, still paralyzed by fear, lies and tells him they were just friends. From a distance, Yuda watches everything unfold, growing increasingly jealous and possessive. Still without clear answers, Keenan shows the photo to Celine and her friend, but both deny knowing her. Despite their lies, Keenan becomes more certain that there's something deeper being hidden from him. Later, while walking down a hallway filled with portraits of outstanding students, Keenan sees a photo labeled Nala. But as he looks more closely, he realizes it's Nora. At that moment, a wave of warm, fragmented memories floods back. Overwhelmed with emotion and nostalgia, he takes off running, his heart guiding him to find her again. Celine, desperate to keep control over Keenan, tries to stop him from reaching Nora. But Nora's friend steps in. In a brave and unexpected move, she confesses that it was she who caused the accident involving Celine's mother. Tired of being manipulated, she ends her friendship with Celine for good, leaving her stunned and powerless. Meanwhile, Nora and Yuda face growing tensions in their marriage. Yuda becomes upset after discovering that Nora has kept some of Keenan's gifts. Though she decides to get rid of most of them to avoid further conflict, she secretly holds on to a love letter Keenan wrote to her long ago. By a twist of fate, Keenan finds that very letter. As he reads the heartfelt words he once wrote, something deep within him stirs. He becomes convinced that their love never died, and that despite everything, there's still hope for them to be together. Though Keenan still doesn't fully remember everything that happened, his doctor assures him that he's physically fine. With that reassurance, Keenan confronts Nora and pleads with her to reconsider her decision to stay married to Yuda, telling her that his love for her remains deep and sincere. When Yuda finds out about the encounter, he's furious and forbids Nora from ever seeing Keenan again. Determined to break free from all the lies, Keenan ends his relationship with Celine, despite her desperate pleas. Crushed and defeated, Celine leaves in tears, realizing she's finally lost him for good. Unwilling to give up, Keenan sneaks into Nora's house and, right in front of Yuda, boldly asks her to go on a date with him just for one day. Enraged, Yuda punches Keenan, but he refuses to back down, declaring that he won't stop until Nora agrees to spend a day with him. After much reflection and emotional tension, Yuda reluctantly agrees, telling Nora she can go if it's truly what she wants. After a long moment of hesitation, Nora finally says yes. Keenan takes her on a journey through all the places where they once shared meaningful moments of their love story. The date ends on an island where he has prepared a romantic dinner, recreating the exact place where Nora had first confessed her love to him. Under the soft glow of candlelight and surrounded by memories, Nora finally opens her heart. She tells Keenan that from the very first moment she saw him, her heart has been tied to his by an invisible red thread, one she has never been able to cut. Deeply moved, Keenan sings a love song to Nora and asks her to stay with him forever. Despite her deep feelings for Keenan, Nora gently reminds him that she is married and cannot leave Yuda, thinking of what's best for her daughter. However, everything changes when Nora discovers the shocking truth that it was Yuda who hit Keenan with his car. Overwhelmed with guilt for having chosen Yuda, Nora tearfully confesses to Keenan that she can't live without him. She reveals her plan to divorce Yuda, admitting that her true love has always been Keenan, and that she only married Yuda believing it was the right thing for her daughter. In a powerful moment of emotional release, Nora dances in Keenan's arms, sharing a magical night beneath a sky lit with fireworks. With their hearts finally free, they promise each other eternal love. End of the drama.